one of the questions that has become important to me lately is the issue of representation and equity. I know the value listed is equality, but I believe that equity is just enough different that the E in SPICE should really be equity. As a white guy, it's easy for me to see myself represented across the board everywhere I look. Superheroes, advertisements, presidents even. Unfortunately, that is not the way it looks to the rest of the population. Gender, race, religion, sexual orientation, all of these should be seen just not by the people in those groups, but by everyone. Academy Award-winning actor Octavia Spencer once said that kids need to see representations of themselves. Who cares about the race of the lead? Get the best actor for the job.
We know that our words and actions matter, not just to our girls, but to children across this country. Kids who tell us, I saw you on TV, I wrote a report on you for school. Kids like the little black boy who looked up at my husband, his eyes wide with hope, and he wondered, is my hair like yours?
Representation goes hand in hand with equity. Many talk about equality, but equality isn't what we should be striving for. This is what equality looks like. Everyone gets the same thing, but this doesn't take into account everyone's starting line. Equity looks something like this. Some people need more help because of where they started. The Privilege Walk video that we watched in the equality lesson showed this point pretty clearly. It is incumbent on those of us who enjoy privilege to speak up for those who have challenges to their equity. Language is often pointed to as one of the ways privileges continue to be institutionalized. Use of inclusive language is necessary, and I support much of it. There are some times when I roll my eyes at what I perceive as a bit too far, but I can appreciate the reason for using a word like kingdom instead of kingdom. But, wouldn't queendom be more appropriate? Ultimately, though, inclusive language isn't for me. It is for those who have felt marginalized by language, and for those who feel like they haven't been heard or even have the ability to speak up at all. One of the things I have tried to do is start removing some qualifiers from my language. I try not to say that black guy if I wouldn't refer to someone else as that white guy. It's just as effective to describe their looks or their clothes without including their race. Likewise, I have to work hard, and it is much harder for me, to stop using girl instead of woman when describing females. I am, however, very cognizant of not using qualifying phrases like for a woman or loaded words like assertive or sensitive when speaking about women. I also understand the racial baggage inherent in phrases like well-spoken. Some of these types of phrases are sometimes so innocuous to the person saying them that they are meant as a compliment, but often the unspoken for a whatever is heard only by the recipient. Another of the phrases I have stopped using is, where are you from? When I meet someone who is obviously not from around here. I often will let the person bring it up if they have an accent, but I once heard a guy who I know is from England answer some middle schoolers, where are you from, with the simple Norwalk. They asked several more times, growing more and more frustrated, and each time he would respond the same way. They finally changed their question to, no, where were you born? And he finally said, oh, you want to know why I have an accent? I grew up in England, but I've lived in Iowa for about 15 years now. He wasn't defensive about it, but he wanted to show them why language matters. A video I came across was one of those in the parking lot Facebook Live things. In Texas, Paige Dixon is running for state representative in Denton County, just north of Fort Worth. Dixon is a community leader, two-tour Iraq war veteran, and mother of two. She is running because she believes that now, more than ever, we need more empathetic and effective leaders. She's not a career politician looking to climb the ladder, she says. She just genuinely wants to serve the people. At a campaign event where she had set up a booth, people came by as they do, and she talked to them and passed out candy and shook hands. Then a couple of little boys came by.
But there was a moment, we have a bucket of candy, and the kids are coming over, and one little boy comes over. It's little black boys, two little black boys, but this one, his name was Marcus, and he was just so wonderful. And he's talking to us, and we're giving him candy, and he stops for a moment, and something catches his attention. And Delia Parker Mims' literature is on the table, and he stops and gazes at her face. And there was a look that you knew that he was looking at her and realizing that she looked like him. And at that moment, like, it was unspoken, but we got it. And Jesse leans down to me and he says, it's important for children, like these children, to see you here. It's important for them to see you running. And I know that it's important for them to see that because I'm 37 years old. And every day I have to get up and remind myself of the possibilities. I have to encourage myself and tell myself it can be done. And that is when I think about representation, and I'm always talking about how we need representation. It isn't, we need us and not them. But for so long, it's not been us. As a black candidate running, you have to be creme de la creme to even entertain the idea that you should even be here. And it's important for people, not just children, because yesterday too, I was leaving the parade, and this black lady stops, and we're driving off, and she said, Paige Dixon for HD65, and she's just like, I'm remembering that. And it's not been lost on me that, on our social media, the followers, there's a split between white and people of color, because people of color are excited because we never see ourselves. And so I don't mean to be all cry this morning, but man, that touched my heart, because you could just see in that child's face every time people who exist in marginalized groups show up, we give permission to other people within those groups to show up too. And I can only hope that my children and that little boy, they see people that look like them showing up, and it gives them the courage to show up too. Let me get off of here, child, because I'm just a hot mess. But that really touched my heart, and I can't put into words what that meant. It was the literal embodiment of why I run every single day, why I get up, why I don't care how people slight me or what they say, or if they don't like me. I don't care. Because it's important that I show up. That's all I want to say. I'm going to get my life together. Y'all have a wonderful day. Happy Sunday.
Equity is something we can strive for. It needs to be called out when it doesn't happen to those of us in the position to make changes. It doesn't mean fixing it necessarily. We need to make sure that we don't continue to marginalize groups because we are on a crusade to cure an injustice in our eyes, when all we have done is addressed it in the way we would have, instead of the way that benefits those seeking equity in the first place.